Now, the fifth and the last commandment is the new covenant, is the most amazing. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man. Genesis chapter 9 and verse 6. Here God lays down the principle of government and protection of man. He gives the government the right of capital punishment. Actually, it's interesting that he set up government, and the way that he sets up government here is by capital punishment. So you don't have a government if you don't have capital punishment. To me, is what if that's how government was started, then taking away capital punishment there's no point in having a government if we don't have capital punishment, because they are it is instilled to protect the innocent. We have seen that in the this new covenant which God has given man is to
propagate.
Oh, read from there.
Okay, is to propagate the race.
Yeah. Yes. Well, you were telling me what the word was.
Oh, I thought you
read.
Okay, I didn't think you saw it.
I can't see it.
I know. Man is to propagate. I told you how to say it. Now I can't. Is to propagate the race. He is to have the protectorate and the rulership over animals. He is given a new provision for food and a prohibition Prohibition, thank you, against the eating of blood. Now we see that he's given the principle of government, which is the basis of capital punishment. May I say to you that it is amazing how the attitude of present generation has gotten away from the Bible. You see, we don't have a Bible-oriented population anymore. It's almost totally ignorant of the Word of God. As a result, we find the judges, the lawyers, and the politicians all wanting to get rid of capital punishment. They have succeeded in many cases, and I think that finally it will be eliminated totally from American culture. At the same time, we have an increase in crime and most horrible crimes taking place. I've dealt with this subject more in detail in a booklet which I entitled Is Capital Punishment Christian? I believe that capital punishment is scriptural. It is the basis of government. The government has a right to take a life when the individual has taken someone else's. Why? Well, I think it's quite obvious that God had ruled it so in order to protect human life. Our lives are no longer safe on the streets and often not even in our own homes. Although I know that many officials would deny it, one reason is our attitude towards capital punishment. When a criminal knows that if he takes a life, that his life is going to be sacrificed, then may I say to you, he'll think twice before he takes it. Also, there's an idea today about getting a gun control law. Well, may I say that the problem is not with the gun in the hand, it's with the heart inside the man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, is a law that we had better get back on our statute books and get rid of this sob sister stuff. Human government is the area in which all mankind has moved, Gentiles included. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man, is the basis for human government. It's not been changed as far as the governments of the world are concerned. In Genesis 9 and 7, it says, And you, be ye fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein. This is a repetition of God's instructions in verse 1. And God spake to Noah and said to his sons with him, saying, And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you. That's Genesis 9, 8, and 9. With your seed after you includes all the human race. Genesis 9 verse 10 says, And with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. All of God's creatures are included in this covenant. Isaiah predicts that someday the lion and the lamb will lay down together. They will not hurt or destroy. In Paul's epistle to the Romans, he mentions that the whole creation is groaning and travailing in pain in this present age. May I say to you that God has made this covenant with Noah and with all of his creatures until the time his kingdom comes on earth. It is for all of Noah's descendants and every living creature that is with you. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of the flood, neither shall there be any more a flood to destroy the earth. That's in Genesis 9 and verse 11. This is God's promise. His purpose is that he will not again destroy the earth with a flood. The next time he'll judge the earth will be by fire. We find that stated in 2 Peter verse 3. In the next few verses, we'll see the picture of the covenant, and in my opinion, really a spiritual meaning of the covenant. It's sort of a sacrament, if you please. The thing that makes it is a visible sign to which are annexed promises. And God said, "This is a token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth." And that's Genesis 9, 12, and 13. The rainbow is more or less of a sacrament, that is, a token of a covenant. And it shall come to pass when I bring a cloud over the earth that a bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the water shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all the flesh that is upon the earth. Genesis 9, verses 14 through 16. I want to stop and say the rainbow is, all children love to paint them, love to draw them, and then the world, the evil part of the world, has made it into something that is not godly. And anybody hates to wear a shirt with a rainbow on it, or they'll think you're gay. I mean, that's just how it is.
Well, I think that it came to me as I was studying this last night. They drink blood of children, babies, and then they wear rainbows as their thing. But
My Lord,
it's a way of them mocking God. Is you can't kill me. You destroyed these people because they were as wicked as we are, and now you made this covenant, and you can't destroy us. And so they're wearing the rainbow to say, nah, you can't. We're we're doing this evil right in front of you, and you can't do anything about it.
Oh, I just feel sorry that they think that way.
Right.
I really do. I feel sorry for them.
But it came to me that that's what it is. I had gotten. On Facebook, whenever I had the rehabs, I had posted a rainbow and the true meaning of that, and some idiot, was like, "Well, I'm not going to support your ministry." I was like, "Well, you never did give me any money to be in the first place."
How are you going to support me?
I know.
We need
I
your
know
prayers.
you didn't, because nobody ever gave me any money. So,
But I think the rainbow is such a wonderful covenant with God. Him saying, "Listen, I'm not going to flood the earth ever again. That's a promise I made you. I'm a covenant." See, and then they've made mockery out of it. But really, truly, they don't know God. They don't know Jesus personally. So whatever
well, no,
they say,
you have to understand. It's like the video I made. They have chosen to split hell wide open. They have chosen to worship Satan. They've chosen to in every way imaginable to worship him, in rebellion to against Jesus.
Yeah.
And this is a rebellion against Jesus, and it's come out of um, you know, and it's obvious because they rebel. It started off. They started rebelling against going to church and being part of cooperative worship. Well, we can worship God under a tree. Well, I guess under a tree, you meet Satan.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He slivers down that
Look
tree.
at Adam and Eve.
Right, in nature. So, you have, it's dangerous being alone.
It is. It
And
really
so
is.
but it's intentional. We want to, say, well, they didn't know any better. They didn't know what they were doing. Biden and all these people, even President Trump,
Yeah.
that they didn't know what they were doing, but they did. They knew full well what they were doing, the trouble that they were getting us into. They knew that they were, a bunch of Satan worshipers.
Yeah.
So it's a lot worse than we even could imagine.
Well, I think they get that because when Jesus was hanging on the cross, he looked down and he said, "Forgive them, Father, because they know not what they do."
Right.
That's where they get that from. Because Jesus said that. Some people don't know what they do, but most do. Most do. Some might be
I
ignorant.
believe if you watch my video on they chose to split hell
Yeah.
wide open. If you're living in America, especially, you know who Jesus is, and you have chosen to reject him.
Yeah.
Now I can understand if you grew up under another regime like Islam or Buddhism, and you had never heard who Jesus was. But that's why they want to get rid of Christmas. They want to make it celebrating the holidays and that
Yeah.
sort of thing because they don't want even the name
of Christ
because that takes away your innocence. But still, you're not innocent. Everyone on earth, the Bible by now has been translated in every language in the world, and it's there. For the reading. They have chosen not to. I mean, I've even read, bits of the Quran to prove, other people. So I know everybody has read the Bible, part of the Bible to prove to people what it actually says.
Well, I'm thinking of. Let me ask you this. I'm thinking of little children who are raised in horrible homes.
Right.
Jesus has never been spoken to them.
Right.
They don't even know who Jesus is.
I know. Their
and
mom didn't take them to church.
Yes.
That refuses
they
to
don't
go
know.
to church.
Yeah.
And uses his name in vain
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
And it's a wonder that see, that's a good rebellion. Usually those kids rebel against those parents and go and become.
And sometimes they get saved.
Real religious.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, well, thank you. Okay, God said to Noah, "This is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth." Genesis 9:17. This is God's covenant, not merely with Noah, but with all flesh that's upon the earth. Let me say it again, that the rainbow could be called a sacrament because a sacrament is a visible sign to which are annexed certain promises. The Passover feast, the brazen serpent, Gideon's fleece, and in our day, baptism and the Lord's Supper are such signs. Now, Dr. John Peter Lang once made the statement, God's eye of grace and our eye of faith meet in the sacraments. That's what happens when man looks at the rainbow. Faith lays hold of promises attached to the sign. You see the merit in which the sign speaks of. There's no faith in a promise that there's no assurance in a sign. The word and the sign go together, you see. And God made a promise and attaches a sign to it. Now, the rainbow of God's answer is to Noah's altar. It is as if God said, I'll remember and I'll look upon it. A friend of mine told me about a time he was traveling by airplane across the country and going over a storm. The plane was up where the sun was shining, and all of a sudden, he saw a rainbow that went all the way around, a complete circle. I guess that's the way God sees it.
And we're going to get in precepts upon precepts. This is actually the first covenant that we're
Oh,
going to
good.
talk about, is the covenant God made with the earth. Basically, it's not
Yeah.
just us humans. It's not just with the us and the animals. It's with the earth, that He would never destroy it with flood
Yes.
again. Now that's J. Vernon McGee's commentary on verses 6 through 17. Now I'd like to look at Chuck Smith's commentary
Okay.
on verses 6 through 17. Why are these people not crying out for the lives of the Iranians, the Russians, and the communists have killed?
Oh, wow.
If they cry out for to protect those who are executed,
Yeah.
why don't they cry out for the masses of people that are being massacred in this world? I forget how many. Zhang Tao, or I think it's like 3 million people he killed,
Wow.
or something like that.
The guy from China?
Well, the communist, I think it is Cambodia. Cambodia was probably the worst, but China did too, and Russia. They all massacred millions of people wherever that they came to power, and so that's just their rule of thumb. And as you were out of the room, and I was talking about how we John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy, he apologized for we killed like 150 girls in the school when it was bombed in Iran, and and then I know there's Christians that have been killed in Gaza, and there's probably innocent people that have been killed in Gaza as a retribution for what happened on October 7th. And so we need to cry out for those people.
Yeah.
And not for murderers.
Right.
Like that's all they're upset about today, is protecting
those murderers,
these baby killers, and rapers.
Yep.
And that's all they want to do, is protect them, and they are causing a horrible stink over that, calling them their neighbors. Well, if you live next to, it's your fault. You needed to go over there and execute the person yourself if he's killing babies in his basement.
Oh my goodness!
Rather than
Lord help
trying to make sure ICE doesn't arrest them. It's ridiculous. The people are insane. It's upside down.
Lord help them.
Because they have chosen to worship Satan.
That
so
hurts my spirit.
They're protecting Satan's people, is what we're saying. If you want to know the truth about it, they're not protesting innocents being killed. They're protesting because you want to arrest somebody who is evil. So the same ones who endorse abortion does not make sense. They multiply,
right?
Upset what God multiply the opposite what God said. That's what I was saying. Is they not only do the opposite of what He said, but they do it to the nth degree. They drink blood. And they of babies, not only of deer maybe that they killed out in the woods, but drinking baby's blood.
Oh, mercy, Tony!
While it's killing it for its blood.
Oh, mercy!
And then they abort the babies. Well, now they're trying to get it where that they can decide whether the baby's going to live until after it's born. Well, the reason they want to do that is so that they can use it for harvest its organs and use its blood and its and everything to keep them alive and to make them look young and in their practice of worshiping Satan.
Lord bless.
So it's the same. It's worse than it was whenever the flood came. And so
help us, Jesus.
The covenant established the basis of man's relationship with God. So a covenant with even though it's God making the covenant with man, God is telling man how he's going to relate to him, with each of these covenants that we're going to do in precepts upon precepts.
We look forward to that, Debbie.
And so, basis for sin to be put away, to have a right relationship with God. So these covenants is how God is trying to deal with our sin, so that we can be righteous before God, so we can have a right relationship with Him, so we can go back to like it was in the garden where we walked with Him in the cool of the day, and talked with Him about about the day, and so he wants to get back to that, but he's having to deal with our sin so that we can actually even approach Him. And
right.
So the man failed, however, in every covenant, man always fails. It's not God that fails; it's man part, and so it's not of stone. In other words, because it's of stone, that you would think that it would be permanent, but man failed to keep the law of Moses in the Old Testament. It could not work because of man's unfaithfulness. Now, based on it's based upon God's faithfulness. So He removed man out of the question with Jesus Christ.
Right.
So man can't fail because of Jesus Christ. The new covenant cannot fail because predicated on God's faithfulness and not on man's faithfulness.
Yeah.
God is always faithful. The earth is to be destroyed by the dissolving of the atoms someday, by fire, but He's just going to unravel the atoms like one huge atomic explosion. The earth is going to be no more. That will be the final judgment of the earth. About the throne of God is a rainbow, though. It talks about in Revelations when we were there, it talked about a rainbow being there at the throne of God. It's a reminder of this new covenant. And so that concludes section verses 6 through 7.